All right, it is Tuesday. I am here with Sara Haines, and we've got a lot to talk about behind the table.
Yes, we do.
Before we get started, I want to start with something that is not on this list that is interesting to me. I was perusing your social media, and I saw that you achieved something that is very rarefied air. You were a clue in a crossword puzzle.
Oh, yes. My old producer at another network who I love, Darrell, we used to do everything together. He was literally at my bachelorette party. He's amazing. But he sent it to me. He's like, look what my mom found on the crossword. And it was so cute to see it because I hadn't seen it myself.
And it was Haines. Was it Sarah from The View, or what was the clue? I'm sorry.
I actually forgot if it was Sara Haines, but it was next to something funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, hello.
Oh, Haines of The View is what it was.
Haines of The View.
Yes. So, and it was the correct Sarah. They did not include the H, which was
someone knew me. Yeah, because it was right by garage floor residue, which I felt also tracks.
Rarefied air. Yeah, no, this is great.
Air.
Yeah, it's when you think of garage floor residue, goes with number 5 across. Haines from The View. What paper was it? What was it?
It's I actually don't even know. I was
more impressed by this than you were. Yeah. I think I was like,
no, you definitely were. I don't know what.
In my mind,
it looks like it's in a book.
In my mind, there are a few things that are just next level. I think it's being parodied on Saturday Night Live, which you have been. It is being a clue on Jeopardy, which I don't believe you have been, and being in a crossword puzzle.
It looks like a crossword book, but Darrell tagged Aurora, Colorado, where his mom is. So it might be their newspaper. I don't know.
All right. Well, shout out to Aurora, Colorado.
Yes.
This is very exciting. I don't know.
Kind of a big deal in Aurora.
Yeah.
And for one day in a crossword puzzle.
And if any crossword puzzle editors are watching, it's Brian with an I.
Yes.
Throwing that out there. All right. Now, you mentioned on the show today, you did a plug on the show today for this new Hulu docuseries titled Her Last Broadcast, The Abduction of Jody Huisentruit. Yes. And I know that you actually have a very special connection to this. Tell me about it.
Well, first of all, everyone, I think, in Iowa knows about the Jody Huisentruit.
I did not know anything about it until I heard about it today.
It happened in the 90s, but it was also a very pivotal moment. My oldest sister, Kathy, was wanting to be in broadcasting. Her major was communication. She was on her TV, local station. She'd produce, do all this stuff. When Jody disappeared and the lack of movement, I mean, we're still 30 years later and don't know what happened to her. We know more, but at the time, it scared my sister to death because Jody was on her way to a early shift on the news, and she was taken between her apartment building and at her car in her parking lot in Mason City, Iowa. Mason City's bigger than most towns in Iowa, but it's a small town. I mean, it's a small town in the scheme of the country. For that to happen, it really shook people. It's remained a talking point anytime you're with, friends back in Iowa stuff. We always end up talking about updates on the case. But this docuseries was amazing because I think, like anyone that's lost or gone, or has been hurt, or people miss them, they're amazing. But she had a unique light that when you watch the videos and things, her whole life was truly in front of her, not just chronologically, but she was fast rising in what she was doing because she had this kind of sunshine personality that when she was on at deathly hours in the morning, she was different, and you could see it in the videos. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch her at the time, so I've seen all this footage since she's disappeared. But she was special. And that case, I think it really is hard for so many people because with all the technology we have today, it wouldn't have been able to go on like this. So much of it was the limitations of the time. But this docuseries took me to a whole new place. So when I talked about it before, and I won't ruin anything, I had a theory in my mind that I shared with a lot of people. My theory has major holes in it now. And I did not, because of this docuseries, and incredibly so because it's from investigators and an investigative reporter, but also the actual law enforcement. So the deliberate, methodical way in which it unfolds, everyone will have holes in their case when they're done.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Now, are you someone, my wife absolutely loves true crime. She will watch anything. I find it sad and depressing often, but she is riveted to it. Do you watch documentaries for fun? Or I know you watch a lot for work and things like that. Or is that something that...
Well, so I do. I love true crime.
Most people seem to.
And love is the wrong word because it insinuates that this awful time in someone's life is appealing. It's not that as much as this feeling you could solve something. I'm not a armchair detective at all. But I remember when I was little, one of my favorite books was the 1 Minute Mysteries. Do you remember those? Where you read a page and then on the opposite side, you could see what happened.
Yeah.
I always loved the idea of detective work, figuring things out, you know, like solving something, giving someone that closure or justice. I was never going to go into law enforcement, and I was never going to be a detective, but their process is so hard to watch, the patience in which, and again, this docuseries goes into this, how patient they have to be, how open-minded they have to be, how they always have to let the evidence guide them. And I mean, I was meant to be a true crime fan because I'm sitting there going, are you crazy? That's totally what happened.
Right.
And they're like, we will not get ahead of ourselves.
I listened to the original Serial, and I was obsessed with that, like
That
everybody
was
else. That
phenomenal.
was, I mean, that's what kind of like kicked off podcasts as a real thing. And I love that. But for the most part, when I'm looking through Netflix or Disney Plus or Hulu, and I'm trying to pick something to watch, I go towards like a escape thing for me. I go to an old comedy. I go to something to make me laugh and not, maybe it's just state of the world.
It depends on the mood I'm in, because I do have to be in a specific mood. I vividly remember when I used to go to my grandma's in Pennsylvania and it was just TVs, not, you know, handheld screens. The OJ trial was big one summer. There was, and so I'd fall asleep to these datelines and things like that. And so for some reason, it actually does lull me, the sound of the voices.
It seems to for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I it's not me, but I get it. And again, Heather is just, that's all she watches. I wake up, you know, at 2:00 in the morning and wondering where my wife is, and I go downstairs and she's asleep on the couch watching Netflix. You know, it's a...
Well, SNL did this hilarious sketch called Murder Shows.
Oh, yes.
It's a digital short.
I remember.
The reason it's funny is because everyone was like, I do that, like folding laundry, looking at a picture of your child while it's like, murder show, murder show.
But I understand the connection to something you grew up with. So the only story I had like that was I grew up in Baldwin, Long Island. No, what, are you something bad? You're looking scared.
No, because I was like, is it the one that just got the Long Island?
Oh, no, I had no connection to that horrible, the
Because I followed
murders.
all that too.
Yeah, no, I had nothing to do with that, although I wasn't far away. No, for me, I grew up around the corner from Joey Buttafuoco's auto body shop in the Amy Fisher.
Yeah.
And that was huge when I was a kid. And I was like 15
Alyssa
years
Milano
old.
played her. And
There were
that?
three different TV movies.
Yeah.
And it was Alyssa Milano, Drew Barrymore, I think, played one, and I can't remember who played the third one, but they were all competing. It was the biggest thing in the world. And in my town, the most interesting thing that had ever happened, as far as I could tell.
So sad when that's why we know places.
I know. I know. All right, so let's get into some other topics here. Chip and Joanna Gaines are producing a new show on their network called Back to the Frontier. They're facing backlash from some religious conservatives who accuse them of unbiblical behavior after they cast a same-sex couple in the show. Now, Chip tweeted a response and said, quote, "Talk, ask questions, listen, maybe even learn. Too much to ask of a modern American Christian culture." People didn't like that. Yeah. What is your take on this?
I just think anyone that has a faith or a spiritual life or goes to church, so much of it is based on prayer and your own relationship, what you feel in your heart. I still remember, this is going way back. I don't mean to make it personal, but this was a moment. My parents raised us in the church, and when my brother came out to me, or came out to all of us actually, I remember my mom really sweetly saying, "I'm really struggling with this because of, I don't know if it's right in the Bible," and we were on our way to Des Moines, which you had to ride to Des Moines like multiple times for anything you did. But I was riding, and I remember saying to my mom, I pray too, and I don't see a difference between my brother and I. And I remember, I don't know how much time passed, and it gets blurrier with the years, but I remember we were back headed to Des Moines for something, and my mom turns, and she said, "Sarah, I've been praying on this. You're right. I see it. I feel it."
Great.
And I think that's an anecdotal story, but I think when people really check in with themselves about the message of whatever faith it is they follow, there's such wisdom in the saying, we used to wear the bracelets, "What would Jesus do?" When you truly study Jesus, he held on to everyone. He was not the Old Testament judging cold. He was loving, and he loved, and he gave. Like, there's something so natural about whenever people are good people. We were never the ones to hold court. And I think that everlasting message speaks to me, that there was not even a hiccup in my journey spiritually or with people who found love with same-sex partners. It didn't even occur to me that it could be wrong, because I always knew in my heart how all of that love felt the same.
Right.
So I think when people really take their time to pray on it, they're usually self-righteousness runs rampant in faith communities because they have something to say, no, but this is bigger than all of us, and I'm going to drop this here, and you're bad. I think they miss the message when they do that, like deeply.
It also usually, there's a lot of insular communities, I think, sometimes. And what I've found in my life is people that have more exposure to more people, more places, that get out of where they grew up or get out of, I've always said it's really important to me, and not everyone can go away to college.
Yeah.
But I really want my children to go away to school somewhere other than New York, other than Long Island, be exposed to other people, to be exposed to other faiths and cultures and all those things. And I think it just, that's the way people grow and are able to understand things.
Well, and I think when you don't focus, one message we didn't agree on this, we just do this over and over, is we talk about what matters most in how we raise our kids and what our role is as parents. We talk to them about having kind hearts, about working hardest in a room, about being good to people, how to recover when you're down, all those things. And I think when you have those conversations over and over again, the way they see people becomes less, that's a boy, that's a girl, that person dates women, that person it's less identitarian and more soul-based. Do you have a good heart? Do you like that person? Why do you like that person? Are they good to you? Are you good to them? We talk all the time about that in a way that when they describe people, they describe more of those qualities to me. So I think it wouldn't take much if you raise your children like that. They wouldn't see it as anything other than, but does that person have a kind heart? Do they work hard? Are they good people? That would be the first screen door my kids would litmus test.
And then I think it's maintaining that as they go through school and social pressures and things like that, and just trying to keep that earlier openness as long as possible.
We just had an incident with one time. It was something that happened to Alec, and one time it was Alec did this to someone else. And I won't get into the language of it, but there was an exchange. And this little boy came to our door with a note, like saying, I'm sorry. And we didn't get involved. We didn't know what happened. But I remember how moved Alec was. So now flash forward, Alec says something. And Max and I sat him down, and we talked about how words hurt, what people struggle with, how it can feel. And we made him write a note, and he fought us so hard. He was like, I'm not taking it. I was like, oh, that's cute. Yes, you are. He's like, well, will you walk up to the door with me? And I thought, I'll walk up to the door with you. I will stand there, but you are doing all the work. And he stood there, and the person comes, he hands the note, and he wrote it, and we checked it, and we wanted to make sure we approved of like how he did it. He hands the letter off. When we get back to the car, he's like, oh, I feel so much better. And I was like, now, Alec, do you feel better? Because it's done? Because he was so anxious about doing this.
Right.
He goes, no, I feel better because I know she won't hate me for the rest of my life.
Oh, how nice.
And I was so grateful that was his answer, because I was pretty sure it was going to be the first.
Yeah.
Because he had said every day, I'm dreading it every day. I'm dreading it. But I was so happy that when he did it, he saw that feeling. Because like we talked a lot about when it happened to him versus when he did it to someone else. And I just think raising kids is hard. So I'm not saying the answer is in like there's one size fits all, but I think when you remind your kids that they operate in a world of souls, I don't say the word soul, but like hearts, what are they like on the inside? We do that so much that I hope that my kids always see the world through that lens.
Well, now this show follows three families who all live like it's the 1880s with no modern conveniences such as running water or electricity. I'm curious, and this is less of a soulful thing, but could you do something like that?
So there's no seamless.
No seamless. I mean, you're good at putting your phone down. You're good at detaching from things. You like meditating in silence.
I also love a social experiment. I think the fact that you're taking people out of all their creature comforts in theory, I think it sounds amazing. If someone said, we will give you a chance to live like this for a couple weeks, I would do it.
Okay.
I just don't know what that looks like.
Sounds like
I'm very handy. Weirdly, I don't fit traditional gender norms. I'm going to struggle with the food part.
Right.
I'm great at the cleaning part. And I'm really handy. Like I'll solve a problem.
Are you great at the cleaning part? You can like clean up a house like real well?
Okay, so there's two types of clean.
Please.
There's organizing and clutter.
Yeah.
And surfaces. And then there's chemical cleaning.
What do you do?
Clutter and organization.
Okay.
Mainly because when left to my own, which I did through my 20s when I lived alone and I was cleaning, I would get a toothbrush out in the grout and I would be there for 2 hours. My mom would be like, "Are you not done yet?" She's like, "It's a studio," but I get so OCD that I spin among myself, and I'm not dropping that term lightly. I actually have OCD. It was bad.
I wouldn't say your dressing room is like perfectly decluttered and perfectly organized. The new one, I guess, is. I'm thinking the old one.
The old one was bad.
The old one was a little bad. Yeah.
But I inherited it with things already there.
That's true. That was several people's.
Yeah, and I tried to deliver them to their room, Paula Ferris, and she would deliver it back.
I think Paula Ferris might still be in there.
She might be there.
Love Paula.
Yes.
All right. Another new topic here.
Okay.
R&B singer Giveon recently talked about his younger self and said he wasted his 20s on a series of failed relationships. Now, you've talked about your past relationships before, Max.
Yeah.
You speak about those relationships with a lot of affection generally, with a lot of like warm memories and learning experiences and all that sort of thing. Do you view any of them as failures because they didn't work out?
No. And I think you almost have to look back on life in that way, because I remember one of my friends in college, her dad said there aren't wrong decisions because they were right at the time.
Right.
Which obviously there are exceptions to that. There are wrong decisions, people. But no, in that instance, I kind of understood what he meant, which is there was a reason you stay. The lesson had not landed. You had not learned. You were not there yet. Without those, because I also would say I had 2 long-term relationships in my 20s. One I would not consider a failure at all. I was wide-eyed and knew what it would be and wouldn't. The other one I was a little bamboozled because I thought it was going to be something else. But I ultimately finally walked away. It just took me 99 times because until I truly internalized that, I couldn't walk away.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what about Max? Does he talk about former relationships in that sense?
He didn't have a ton. He had a high school girlfriend that he liked, and then he had a long-term one before me.
Do you look them up? Do you pay attention?
Yeah, we passed one of them in Brooklyn, and I like head swivel on a stick because I'd heard good things. This group where he comes from, they all know each other. They're within a couple years of age, siblings, this person's best friends. So I knew of this person who was already lovely endorsed by the group because I knew she existed. One day I'm walking and Max is so cool. It's not even funny. We're walking by and we passed. I didn't look at this person. I'm walking back and I think I was slovenly in a pregnancy or something gross. And he said, that was that. I won't say her name, but that was her. And I was like, what? And I'm like running back. And I was like, are you kidding me? Why wouldn't you tell me? Because of this? Like, look what you're doing. But I wanted to see her. I wanted to know more about her. So I did. At times I'd ask questions to other people, but I didn't want to not look cool, like that I cared. But she seemed really lovely. And that tracks with Max.
We had an encounter with one of Heather's ex-boyfriends in her hometown. No, a different one, actually.
I forgot you could see.
Yeah, you're right. It's a video podcast. That's fine. But we had an encounter with one of the Heather's exes in her hometown, and I could tell in the moment. I don't want to be. I felt confident after the meet. I felt like I've ended up in a pretty good place, and I feel pretty good. And she desperately didn't want to admit that this was her ex, but I could tell. I knew the whole time we ran into them.
Because you
saying
knew
hello.
Of him?
I had heard his name, but I wasn't 100% sure. And she was like waiting for me to say something, and I'm like, was that? And she's like, yes. And I was like, yeah, I nailed it. That was great. I mean, I feel like I came out on top. It was pretty good.
Well, Garth Brooks wrote a song, Unanswered Prayers, which I talked to him about. I think he played a little on our show once for me. But that was the most, I remember those lyrics landed on me at a young age when I thought, oh my gosh, like there's going to be, and it's beyond relationships. It's all those things you want in life.
Right.
But some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
Absolutely.
That line hits me. And again, how old is that song?
Right. Like, but the things you think you desperately want.
There's so often it wasn't the right thing. But, the whole song goes back to a football game and like, that's what my town is. And so the image that you could go back, be next to someone, see this person, and again, extrapolate whatever lesson or life choice it is. And all of a sudden you realize that you're so happy where you are and that that was a gift.
Absolutely. No, it's something you can't really have perspective on in the moment.
No.
But hopefully as you get older, you realize that maybe this is one of those cases.
Well, the late 20s one that I didn't like, I kept going, maybe this is an unanswered prayer. Like
during the relationship?
Literally, I just like, please God, make this one of your unanswered prayers.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you for joining me today, Sarah. Tomorrow I'll be back with Alyssa Farah Griffin, and we will see you then.